Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you my birth story with Alara. She was born on July 2nd, 2019, and my due date originally had been the 4th of July. So she came at when I was 39 weeks and 5 days. That's exactly the same as my daughter Cadence. So my water broke at 3:45 in the morning. It just like gushed out. It was completely different than when my water broke with Cadence. It broke when I was in bed, and that whole night prior to my water breaking, I had been having like some cramping and contractions, but they went away by about midnight, and it never got to the point where I felt like I had to go in. So I went to bed, and then about 3:45 in the morning, I kind of woke up. I wasn't really feeling well, and then before I knew it, my water broke. It felt like I peed in bed. It gushed everywhere. It was crazy. It was like a movie. I jumped out of bed and I asked him to throw me a towel because it was still just leaking out. Like not even leaking, it was like gushing out. It wouldn't stop. So I grabbed the towel and then I went into the restroom and I took a shower. So he went ahead and cleaned up our sheets and everything like that. And then I put one of the Always pad diaper underwear things that I got for postpartum. I put one of those on just to like keep everything together so that I can get my bag, get myself in the car, and we can head to the hospital. My mom got here. We headed to the hospital. We stopped with Cadence. My labor was like 19 hours, and so I didn't think that I had to like rush to the hospital or anything. So we stopped at McDonald's. My husband got food, then we checked ourselves into the hospital. So by that point, it was about 4:30 when we got into the triage room. They checked me. They confirmed my water did break. We got a room about 5:30. At that point, I was only 3 centimeters dilated. I ended up having to call the nurse. I felt like they forgot about me. So I ended up having to call the nurse and request the epidural. When they gave me the epidural, it was only working on my left side. So they had turned me onto to lay on my right side so that, and then they gave me an extra dose of the whatever like the medicine is that goes into the epidural to numb you. So they gave me an extra dose of that so that it would get onto my right hand side because I could still feel everything on my right side, but my left side was completely numb. The midwife did come in and she told me, oh, okay, I expect you to deliver about 11 or 12. Everything happened so fast. So at 7:30, I was 3 centimeters and I was waiting for my epidural to kick in on the right side, and I was laying on my right hand side. By 7:45-ish, I started to feel like immense pressure, meaning that I was ready to push. So the pressure of it, you still feel through the epidural. So you don't feel the contractions with an epidural, but you definitely still feel all of the pressure that makes you like just want to push. And so that's how I knew, because the same thing with Cadence, except with Cadence, they made me hold it for like 45 minutes before they felt that I was ready to push. With this one, I told the nurse, mind you, it's about 7:45. I had just got my epidural. Everything was kicking in onto my right hand side, and I told the nurse, I feel a lot of pressure. And so she kind of looked at me and was like, okay, whatever. But then she checked the monitor, and it'll monitor your contractions, and she seen like, okay, well, you're having a 2-minute contraction at that point, and the contraction wasn't letting up. And so she decided to check me, and when she checked me, I was already at 10 centimeters ready to go. They didn't have anything ready. They didn't have like the little incubator thing for when the baby is delivered ready to go. Nothing was plugged in. They had to like hurry up and get everything ready because at that point I was already 10 centimeters and the baby was literally coming out. So she had to call like a bunch of nurses, and about 10 people came rushing into our room. At this point, it's about 8 o'clock. All of these people are filling our room, And I'm just like looking at Richard like, what the hell is going on? It was like so traumatizing, because when you see a bunch of people rushing into the room, you know that something is going wrong. Like, you know that it can't be good. There were 2 doctors in there, was a midwife in there, and then there was like about 6 nurses besides my nurse that all came rushing in. So they were trying to like get everything together, get the baby bed together, get everything like hooked up and stuff like that. Oh, and at that point, after they gave me the epidural, at about 7:30, the same time, they gave me Pitocin, because they said that my contractions had started to become irregular. And so they gave me the Pitocin, and it was after the Pitocin, it was only about 15 minutes for the Pitocin to kick in, that I went from 3 centimeters to 10 centimeters, and I had that huge 3-minute contraction. So everybody comes rushing into the room. They're still monitoring my contractions, and then they're also monitoring like the baby's heart rate and stuff. And everybody, you could feel the tension in the room. And I was looking at my husband's face, and I could just see it on his face, like something wasn't right. And so all of a sudden, they have me move from my right side onto my back, and then they just tell me, okay, you know what, you have to start pushing. Like, with cadence, they kind of coached me through it. With this, the doctor, the midwife, straight out looked me in the face and said, I need you to push as hard as you can, as fast as you can. We need to get this baby out right now. And so that like freaked me out. It gets me emotional, sorry. So that like freaked me out, because I didn't know what was going on. And so they grabbed an oxygen mask, and they put the oxygen mask on me. They had me lying on my back. They told me, push as hard as you can, like bear down as hard as you can. You need to get this baby out right now. And so I was pushing and I was pushing, and then they just like turned me to the side. They're like, you need to turn to the side because the baby's not coming out, and we need to get the baby out right now. So I had me on another side. I still had the oxygen in, and I was just pushing and pushing as hard as I could. And so all of a sudden, they were like, good, she's almost out, she's almost out. So I finally had one last push, and I got the baby out, and I heard silence. There was no baby cry. There was no anything. Like, it was crazy. And so I just remember like everybody rushing over there, and like the doctors were trying to like touch the baby, rub the baby, and like I couldn't see. I was just like crying and crying, and I asked my husband, I'm like, is she breathing? Is she breathing? Like, what's wrong? I kept asking, what's wrong? What's wrong? How come she's not crying? Why isn't she crying? Apparently she was like completely blue, and her heart rate had dropped, and so that's part of the reason why they needed me to push ASAP. The umbilical cord got wrapped around her ankle, so when she was trying to come out, the umbilical cord was holding her back. Plus, I had a short umbilical cord, and so that also was preventing her from coming out. And so basically, if I couldn't push fast enough, because she was losing oxygen and her heart rate had dropped and wasn't coming back up, they would have had to do an emergency C-section. So thank God I was able to like push my brains out and get her out. I pushed her out within 1 minute. They timed me. All of this stuff happened. Everybody came rushing into my room at 8 o'clock. I delivered Alara by 8:11. It was really scary, especially to like have your baby come out and then not hear a cry. Like, my heart just dropped. And nobody was telling me anything. Like, I kept asking and nobody would answer me. But then you see like all of the nurses and all of the midwives so frantic and like so intensely saying like, you need to push this baby out. Like, so I knew it was something serious. They were trying to like get her to move and like wake her up, you know, like by like hitting her back, rubbing her back really, really hard. I felt like that was forever too. They finally put her on my chest and they continued to rub her, and then that's when she started to slowly like come back and start to cry. And when I seen her, she was like already like her color was coming in, but it was like that like dusky color, like the pinkish purple type of color, and like her feet had remained that color for like a few hours even after she like regained her oxygen and stuff. Most importantly, the baby was fine. So they did a really good job over there. As much shit as I talk about Kaiser, their labor and delivery really did an outstanding job. I didn't have to get a emergency C-section, thank goodness. The baby was completely healthy. So she was born at 8'11". She weighed 7 pounds 14 ounces and she was 21.5 inches long. Despite us having some trouble during the birth, everything is like absolutely perfect. She's completely fine, and Kaiser did a really good job coaching me through getting the baby out and delivering safely. I'm sorry, I wanted to vlog the birth, but again, it happened so quickly. Literally, my water broke at 3:45 and I had Alara at 8:11. So I was in labor for maybe 4 hours at the most. And I went from 3 centimeters dilated to 10 centimeters dilated in like less than an hour. So it was a pretty quick and intense birth. So that's why I couldn't vlog it. There was absolutely no way. We were just more concerned with having her, getting her out safely than anything else. So I'm just praying for all you mamas, safe deliveries. Thank you guys for watching. And again, if you have any birth stories that you would like to share, I would love to hear about them in the comments. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye.